From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, welcoming all of you to tonight's show, including our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirks SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're looking for Whoo in the woods tonight, as veteran outdoorsman and paranormal researcher Steve Stockton has had a lifelong fascination with strange and anonymous tales from the woods, as well as his own personal encounters with the unexplained. There are things in the woods that we do not know yet about and have very few explanations for. This is what Steve is out there putting the time, putting the effort, and the energy into proving. Bigfoot, Dogman, every cryptid in between, he is out there looking for it. Steve is a podcaster as well as an author. You can find his books on Amazon. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Steve Stockton, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time, my friend. How are you?
Hey, Dave. Great. Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you here as well, my friend, because I can tell you, the minute I put the word Dogman out there, it's amazing how many people are all of a sudden clamoring, I got to listen to this. I have to listen to this. But we're going to get into that a little bit more later on in the show. I want to learn about you here right off the bat. You know, what caused you to have this lifelong fascination with cryptids?
Just one of those things. I had my first paranormal experience when I was really small, about 6 years old, and that just kind of stuck with me. And I think that's a natural progression from ghosts and all things spooky into the cryptids and things. Of course, I grew up in the 70s, and Bigfoot was the big thing back there. That was when it really started coming into vogue, came into popular consciousness. There are a lot of feature films and things about Bigfoot, a lot of it just nonsense, but made up stuff. There were some true documentary style films. Of course, you had shows like In Search of It. We only had 3 channels back then, so there wasn't a lot of info. It's not like today where there's dozens of paranormal shows of every flavor and shade. So it just kind of stuck, and grew up in the hills and hollers, as they say, of East Tennessee, and a lot of spooky things out there. Did a lot of hiking in the Smokies, and other parts of the Appalachian Trail. I've been hiked on the AT in every state it goes through except for Maine. And just the more time you spend in the woods, the more you find out that there are things out there that don't make a lot of sense, and that there are, if you want to call them cryptids or creatures or monsters or what have you, there's all kinds of things out there that we don't know about and don't understand.
Mm-hmm. So take us back to your childhood. You said it all started with a paranormal experience. What happened there?
Lived out in the country, was playing in the yard one day. It was about 200 feet from the road, rural country road. Saw a car come down a hill, stop, and what looked like a kid came out from behind the car, ran across in front of the car, down into our yard, and got about 10 or 15 feet in and then disappeared. And just kind of fell down, boom, vanished. I went right to the spot. No kid, no hole for a kid to fall in, nothing. And it didn't scare me so much as it intrigued me. Just, what's that? Even at 6 years old, I knew that wasn't supposed to happen. Little kids don't run through the road and into the yard, fall down and disappear. And that just kind of started me on my quest of looking into things and not necessarily seeking answers so much as just finding more mysteries.
Mm-hmm. And the fact is, there is way more mysteries out there than we could even fathom right now. And do you ever get frustrated with the fact that, There's all these clues, yet we're no closer to solving the real mystery of everything.
Not so much frustrated. To me, it's kind of the thrill is in the chase anyway. I like searching for things that there probably aren't any answers for, any hard and fast ones anyway. But it's the thrills in the hunt. If you had the answers, then it would take all the fun out of it.
So when you decided to get into this and really dedicate a lot of your time towards searching for Bigfoot, searching for Dogman, and all of these strange cryptid creatures that are out there, allegedly, even though I believe in them, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of energy. What did the people around you say when you made this your obsession?
Well, a lot of my family were sympathetic because they had experiences, things that they couldn't explain. Not necessarily Bigfoot, although in a couple of examples, possibly Bigfoot, but they had grown up similar to how I had in similar places, and even more so out in the country on my parents' side. So they knew that there's things out there that are can't be explained, and things that just happen sometimes, and things that are cited, things that don't necessarily make any sense by our natural laws.
When you say things that don't make sense, what do you mean by that? Because, for a lot of people, they may say, well, that's a very vague statement. But for those who've had the encounter, they're going to be cheering you on, saying, absolutely, exactly, you preach it, brother.
Yeah, well, it could be like something like a Bigfoot encounter. You encounter a large 8-foot tall hairy beast in the woods. That's not normal. That's not an accepted norm, even though probably more so now than it was years ago. Or my friend of mine encountered something that looked like he thought it was a calf that had wandered out into the creek and was in the water just up to its head. And then when he approached it to see if he could get it out, whatever it was dove and swam off, but it was just the head. Something that looked like a cow's head that could swim. So what was that?
I have no idea. I have no idea what that would be, man. I have no idea. I have not encountered a Dogman as of yet. I think I may have been around one, but I'm not sure. I know I've seen 2 Bigfoot. I know that I have been surrounded at Bigfoot with a couple of my buddies here. I've told that story many times on the show. Why do you believe these creatures are real, Steve?
Well, from personal experience, I've never actually seen a Bigfoot as far as a sighting, but I have been, like you said, surrounded by them. I've been in areas where they are. I've heard the yips, the owls, the tree knocks, the things that aren't explained by other beasts, and from recordings that I've heard of what purport to be Bigfoot calls, that was what I heard as well. And then up on the Appalachian Trail in Jefferson National Forest near Damascus, Virginia, I was pelted with rocks about 2 o'clock in the morning from several different directions in a place where there's nobody else on the trail or anything. And that was following an episode of tree knocks and calls. I think there was at least 3 of them in different areas, and they were calling back and forth. And then I kind of went to investigate a little bit, and then I started getting pelted with the little round river rocks. And this was quite a ways from any source for those. And instead of flying in an arc, they came straight out of the woods from several different directions. One of the ones I picked up was almost hot to the touch. So whatever it was didn't like me being there. I was getting too close and threw rocks at me till I decided to leave the area.
We get a lot about that rock throwing. Have you been able to determine or decipher the difference in the forest, whether it's Dogman or Sasquatch that could be around?
Not really, not other than the noises and the calls that it makes. The Dogman being more canine or lupine, if you will, it has more of a howl, more of that type of cry, whereas Bigfoot is more, I would think, ape-like or another type of cryptid. There's some differences, subtle differences there. I've heard people say that Dogman is the new Bigfoot. It's one of those things that's ramped up, and just in the past few years, I know of hundreds of Dogman sightings. So he's coming into his fore, he or she or it, whatever Dogman is. But it seems to be more sightings of that per that type of beast than there were Bigfoot sightings. Even though you've had lots and lots of Bigfoot sightings, I think for whatever reason, the Dogman sightings are coming more to the fore and are more common than Bigfoot sightings.
Why is that?
Well, I think it has something to do with the beast itself. Dogman encounters that I've read and heard about, it's not as elusive as the Bigfoot. It doesn't care. And if it's wolf-like, it's more predatory. I think it's not afraid of smaller beasts, which we would be. Whereas Bigfoot is more elusive and likes to kind of stay hidden, and even some conjecture that it's able to camouflage itself with the type, what they call the glimmer man. Now, there's all kinds of different things out there that people are saying, the glimmer man or the glimmer beast, that's the one that looks sort of like waves of heat. The people see it nearly most of the sightings are in trees or in the tops of trees. We can tell there's something there, but it's kind of somehow been able to almost completely cloak itself. So is that some type of Bigfoot? Is that another beast entirely? I think there's some overlap in the areas there.
I think so, too. And, this is something that has been a mystery for centuries around North America. Not so much for Dogman, but Bigfoot especially. Do you think there are more Dogman sightings, as you said right now, because the creature is advancing around the continent? Or do you believe that it has to do with the popularity of the creature right now?
Well, it's probably a little both, but I think it's more people are aware of it and therefore looking for it and knowing what it is if they hear it or encounter it or sight it. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Plus, just kind of get that hive mind thing in there. If it is some sort of shapeshifter or teleport like the Native American legends, the more you think about it and the more energy people put toward it, even if it's just talking about it or merely believing in it, then the more likely it is to be sighted. Now, that's on the Native American tradition.
All right. So when it comes to the First Nations and or Native American tradition and what they have seen, how does it differ from what the rest of us are seeing?
I think for them, it has more meaning. It can even be, especially with the Bigfoot type characters, they consider Bigfoot almost a spiritual type being, in that some creature that can be learned from because of the way it lives in harmony with nature and things. Dogman, that's a little more on the scary side. That's more of a cautionary tale. And again, one of the things that they don't talk about, some of the shapeshifters and certain things, the elders of the tribes will warn you, that by talking about it, that just feeds into it, and you're more likely to draw it toward you. There's several of that archetype in the Native American legend, like the Raven Mockers and Spearfinger and some of those things that the older folks won't talk about it at all.
Yeah, and that's not the first time that I have heard that. That's for sure. In fact, my buddy Joey, who is in the Space Travelers Club right now, he won't even mention certain names because it's said to bring very bad karma towards you if you do. And so that being said, all right, how much do we need to start putting some stock in what these legends and these stories from First Nations or American Indians have? Because to me, I think research today has done a real disservice in forgetting what we should be looking for. And, the stories that have led to these encounters from centuries on by.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, because typically in the Native American traditions, they have a legend for everything, every object, every occurrence. Anything that could go on, there's a story behind it. That was just part of their tradition of passing things down in story form. But also, you have to look at the other side of that coin. These are people that lived in the forest and traveled in the woods, and that's how they ate. They hunted, they trapped, they knew what plants they could use for different things. So I think you still have to give some credence to it. Maybe it's part truth, maybe it's part legend, but there's got to be some impetus there, some nugget of truth that started that. And so it's not just a cautionary tale or something meant to scare kids, but there is something behind it. So yeah, I think it bears looking into.
What do you think then of researchers today who completely dismiss the fact that many First Nations out there believe, whether it's Dogman, whether it's Sasquatch, or any other type of cryptid, that they may be some sort of shapeshifter, they may be interdimensional, they may have some sort of weird, strange superpowers that we cannot understand. Yet many researchers today are absolutely blindfolded to those ideas and refuse to even research them.
Yeah, I think it's a disservice. Like you said, there's, anything bears looking into. If it's something we don't know about, something we can't explain, and we don't have a natural explanation for, that doesn't mean anything to whatever it is, because it doesn't necessarily need an explanation. And another way the First Nations people look at it, that everything that we know of as natural was actually spoken forth by the great sky chief, or God, or whatever you want to call it, out of the supernatural. So if what we consider natural came from the supernatural, then which one is really going to take precedence? And that's the way they look at it. They don't discount anything. That's just the way it is. This is what we believe. This is where it came from. This is what it is. This is why you should stay away from it, type thing.
Well, that leads to my next question, because for many First Nations, they refuse to even discuss this with people of today because they don't want to be laughed at. They don't want to be ridiculed. And personally, I don't blame them. I don't blame them whatsoever, because when you're putting down people and their stories that have been passed on generation to generation, and you're looking at them and saying, well, that's false. That's false. That's not right. That's BS, or whatever it may be, eventually you just shut up. You know what I'm saying? And I can understand how that's happened. And I just got freaked out because my dog just literally walked down the stairs and past my window here outside, and it kind of made me jump. And so my heart's got to restart here. But nonetheless, when you have that happening, and you have researchers of today who are literally, I don't want to use the word mocking, but it's probably the best word for it, the stories of the past, how do we expect to gain any ground on this subject if we're closing such a big door?
Yeah, I think you're fighting a losing battle there in that regard. That if you don't take into account the old legends and the old stories, and there's got to be a starting point somewhere. Charles Fort said, "One measures a circle, beginning anywhere." I look at it this way too. You have to take the good or the bad. You can have your own theories, but you can't have your own facts. And the way I look at that, a lot of these people that tend to downplay everything, a skeptic is just someone who hasn't had a good encounter yet. That's what I wish for people that don't believe is, get it out there and see what happens, see what you encounter, and then see if you still feel skeptical about it or not. Because I think a healthy dose of skepticism is needed in some cases, especially more the spectacular, the high profile cases that are possibly done for fame and fortune and things. But I mean, just if you look into just the past 100 years or so, all the different sightings all the way across the spectrum, ghosts, UFOs, Dogman, Bigfoot, any number of cryptids or supernatural encounter things. And it's not just here in this country, it's all over the world. It doesn't know any cultural or socioeconomic boundary. You go into any part of the world, they have ghost stories, they have UFO sightings, they have some type of creature, whether it be the Sasquatch or the Yeti or the snowman, multiple snowman. It's out there. And I don't think if people were just making it up and just telling stories that it would be so well heeled and so well traveled. I've spent time in Southeast Asia. They have their own versions of just about every legend you've ever heard of, with unique twists. But you have ghosts, you have vampires, you have ape men-like creatures. So I think there's something to it just because of the sheer enormity of all the sightings and all the different places that they come from.
We have about 2.5 minutes here before we got to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Steve Stockton is our guest tonight. Steve, what do you think Dogman is?
I think it's some type of a creature like similar to Bigfoot, whereas Bigfoot is more ape-like. This one is more dog or wolf-like, something in the canine or lupine family, maybe some sort of hybrid that we're not aware of. Or if you want to get over into the esoteric, maybe it is some type of elemental, some type of the Fae folk or whatever, that skinwalker, if you will, shapeshifter, that takes on that particular presence for certain specific end game.
Do you believe that they are of this world?
Well, they have to kind of be of the world, even if they don't live in it, since they do appear here. I mean, there's theories out there about them being extraterrestrial in origin, that they're from another dimension, that they can travel through time and space. Who knows? I don't think I'm really one to make that judgment. I can see the believability to me in either story. Like, particularly some of the Bigfoot, maybe that's just something that we're not aware of. But then in the Dogman stories in particular, I've heard one encounter where a person observed what said it looked like a rip just in the middle of nowhere that just appeared, and a Dogman just sort of sauntered out of it. So that's a portal is what they're describing there. And obviously it knew how to travel that way and wasn't afraid to use it, didn't have any fear. I think that's the thing that's more frightening to me about Dogmen. They don't seem to have as much fear as some of the other creatures, where I actually heard of Bigfoot fleeing from people. You hear more of Dogman, it's more likely to go after somebody, to chase them away.
Yeah, it's angry. It's very angry. And I actually had a report today from a friend of mine, an acquaintance in my town here, and we just started talking out of the blue, and he says to me, he goes, "Did you ever hear of Dogman?" And I'm like, "Yes, I have." He goes, "What do you think?" He's got a very strong, thick French accent, and I said, "Very real. Why?" I said, "Where have you seen one?" He goes, "Oh, in my backyard a month and a half ago." And he lives about 12, 14 miles from my house. Wow. All right. And I'm like, "I'm coming over." And he's like, "Okay, call me Sunday." So Bazooka Joe, who's in the chat room, is Timber Hunter, and we're going in. We're going in on Sunday. But Steve, you hold on. We're going to talk more Dogman, Bigfoot, anything cryptid tonight as we're dropping the gloves on Cryptids with Steve Stockton right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thor, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have each and every one of you with us tonight. We want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter, @Spaced Out Radio for the show. My personal handle, @Dave Scott SOR. Why? Well, just because it's kind of the cool thing to do these days, and we'd love to add you back as well. We're talking Dogman tonight, Bigfoot as well. Researcher, author, guy with good facial hair. Steve Stockton is with us from Portland, Oregon, as we are breaking down what these Dogmen are. Now, right before the break, Steve, I was telling you a little bit of a story along with the audience where I got a report today in my own area about a Dogman sighting. And this came from a person who lives about 12, 14 miles from my house, not very far. And it happened about a month and a half ago. And this gentleman, he rescues older dogs. So it's not out of the ordinary for him to have 10, 15, 20 dogs around on his acreage because, sometimes he adopts them out, sometimes he doesn't. It all depends. He's got a home for all these dogs. Big, big heart. And so he was calling his dogs back. They were out running around the yard, and he was calling his dogs back, and he noticed there was 3 or 4 of them that just weren't there. And he looked down kind of this little hill near the bottom, and he saw 3 of his dogs surrounded something black. But the dogs weren't barking. They weren't going crazy. They were just calm as anything. And then this big black thing stood up on 2 legs, and he said it looked like a dog. And the thing that caught him off guard was that his dogs were completely calm over this. They were not freaking out. They were not protecting their property. They weren't sensing any danger whatsoever. And he said that he almost got hit with this telepathic message that basically said, I'm not here to harm you, so please don't harm me. And the thing just got up and walked away. What do you think about that? Where'd you go? Did you mute your phone?
Yep, I had and forgot to unmute it. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right, man.
Yeah, I think I had to clear my throat. I think that's fascinating. And the fact that the dogs weren't disturbed by it. It's like they were in reverence to it. That's the king dog. That's the link between human and canine here. That's why, because typically, dogs will raise a ruckus if there's other type cryptid around, Bigfoot or anything like that. It tends to disturb the dogs. That's amazing. I'd love to hear what you find out or what you observe when you go up there.
Well, we are going out there on Sunday, hopefully. The gentleman whose property it is, he's got to go out of town this weekend. He's hoping to be home by Saturday or Sunday afternoon. And if that's the case, we're going to go out there. And right now up here, we have daylight up until about 9:30. And so once we have that daylight and we can get out there and go check it out, I already had Butch Witkowski send me pictures of Dogman footprints. And I will tell you, those are weird looking. Those are weird looking. It's like, for people who don't understand, it's like these big giant claws like a cougar or a bear would have, but then it's got a dog-like paw that is kind of separated from the claws. And it's freaky. It's absolutely freaky. Have you seen many of those?
No, not the way it's described.
I'll have to send you the photo.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I got some pictures in email a few days ago from a guy in Indiana that found what he thought to be Dogman footprints in his cornfield, and it's impressive. I mean, I've seen bear tracks and things like that before. It's not anything like that. It looks like a dog, but the biggest dog I've ever seen is one of the forepaws, and it's as big as a small pizza, maybe bigger. That size.
Oh yeah. It is intimidating, and for people who are searching for this creature, what is the dangers of it? What do we need to be aware of?
Well, there are stories of it attacking people. There have been people that have been attacked, and it's also known to have eaten farm animals. I've never heard of anybody that it's eaten, but then again, there are people that have disappeared in national parks, national forests, that there's been no trace left of them. So, maybe the Dogman got them. But, I don't know. I don't see it as a good thing. It's more, where Sasquatch, Bigfoot can be more benevolent. I've always thought that the Dogman had a darker, more malevolent vibe to it. I don't think it's up to any good, and wouldn't want to toy with it or mess with it. I would observe it and get any evidence that I could, and then vacate the area.
What do you think makes this creature so angry, though? Is it about intimidation because it is an apex predator, if it is real, or is it its actual personality?
I believe it's a little of both. I think it is, at least very, very high, if it is not the predator in the forest. It's one of the highest. But, any encounters that I've heard, they seem to be angry. They snarl, they slobber, they growl, they show their teeth. That's very dog-like, and that's a dog that's protecting itself or protecting its territory. So that's typical of an angry dog. Of course, not all dogs are angry, but all the Dogman encounters, I've heard of some where it was just maybe observed, where it wasn't showing any signs of anger. But the ones where it seems to know that it's being observed, being watched, that's the ones where it seems to take offense. It doesn't want you to look at it.
It acts more like a house cat, man.
Yeah, maybe that'll be next, Catman.
I don't know. I don't know if we need any more of that. You imagine how many housewives and house husbands who are addicted to their cats are going to be running out in the forest trying to find this thing if there is a Catman out there? I went there. I did. I went there. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I did. But I did. Anyhow, moving on. That was part of the Canadian humor I don't think many people got. I don't even think I got it myself. But that's okay. That is very okay. Dogman, what kind of creature are we looking at here? Give us for people who may be tuning in for the first time and not know what we're really talking about, what kind of creature are we looking at here?
Well, it's described as a hairy beast, of course. It's bipedal, walks on two legs like a human, although I think it is capable of getting by on four. It can run and travel on four, but it seems to prefer walking on two legs. It's covered in a thick hair or fur, usually dark brown or black, most of the encounters that I've read about. And it's more like your classic Wolfman type thing, and not the ones that you see in the old movies and things, but more the werewolf stories from Eastern Europe, where a lot of that originated. The Dogman kind of fits that archetype a little better, although a lot of the sightings, and that's why they call it Dogman, it looks more dog-like than wolf-like. And there must be something to that, because I think just the sheer fright of encountering something like that would be an unusual thing to notice. That, well, it looked more like a dog than a wolf, so it must be very prevalent dog features.
Mm-hmm. And, many people hadn't heard of this creature until Linda Godfrey came out in 1989 with the story of the Beast of Bray Road in Wisconsin. And that just kind of took everything off. If this creature has been around for such a long time, why wasn't it until only 31 years ago that we started hearing about this?
Yeah, that makes you wonder. And it was kind of the same with the Bigfoot, even though it had been in legends going back, hundreds of years in some cases. There were accounts from the early settlers and hunters and trappers and things like that. Again, it didn't get into vogue until it became a popular thing with the Gimlin film there, in the 60s, when that came out, in the first, what many consider to be real evidence. I mean, I know that's open for debate whether that film's real or not, but that's the thing that seemed to bring it into public consciousness. And again, more people are aware of it, then you bring out people that, maybe that's what I saw that time that I didn't know what was. And I think it's kind of the same with Dogman or any of these, like the Glimmer Man. Now you've got those stories circulating. That's very popular. Plaid Man, heard of that? It's a lumberjack type entity that Strange Familiars podcast talks about it a lot. And that's another one that the more you hear about it, the more sightings you're going to hear of. I even have a story on my YouTube channel, 13 Past Midnight, called The Phantom Woodcutter, the Phantom Woodsman. I don't remember the name. But now that I've heard of the Flannel Man, it totally fits in with the Flannel Man story. The person that I collected that from, I think he had a Flannel Man encounter now, whereas before it was just some strange person out in the woods chopping trees where he wasn't supposed to be, that later proved to not be there. So sometimes, you don't really know how to classify things until there is a classification for it.
Well, you know what is very interesting, because any type of flannel man out there has to be Canadian, because we all dress in plaited flannel up here. So I'm sure if you run into the flannel man, he will be polite and offer you a donut or play some hockey or something along those lines. But that one kind of makes me shake my head, because look, I can understand seeing a ghost of a logger. Why do we have to give the name of like flannel man to all of these things? I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, that one in particular, he's seen, and it's a certain type of flannel, and like a black and red, I think buffalo pattern is what they call it. I'm not familiar with all the different tartans and plaids and things, but the majority of the sightings have been with the exact same pattern in the flannel, and it's just one of those that's become an archetype, and he's another one of these that doesn't necessarily seem malevolent nor benevolent. He has helped people in some cases, but he seems more intent on just scaring people, or he's kind of a harbinger of doom or bad things in some cases too. So there's a lot of flannel man sightings preceding a death in the family and things like that. So I don't know, that one's kind of strange to me too. But you have all these different. You have the Men in Black, you have the Black-Eyed Kids, you have the Phantom Clowns. There's whatever it is out there that's coming out with these things. It likes a little variety every now and then.
I think my favorite videos of the Phantom Clowns were, when people would pull up on these clowns and, in their car or something, then they'd just get out of their car with like a baseball bat and start chasing the clown away. That made me fun. I would do that. I would totally do that.
I remember with the last flap there were a lot of sightings. It's been several years ago now. There were people online putting pictures up of clown hunting permits, and you had a daily limit to how many you could bag. But that was one that was interesting, that some people were scared. Some people were afraid of it. I know there's a particular phobia that involves clowns, but there were other people that was one they wanted to fight back. And I like the idea of that, if it is some sort of weird creature, entity or something, that it wasn't able to totally box people in, that there are people that take offense at being clowned, as it were, and would go after it and chase it. So maybe that's why it died down. There's been similar flaps of that. I think the first one was back in the late 70s or early 80s, where it started in, I think, Boston. And then again, like this last time, it just kind of spread, and then all of a sudden there were sightings everywhere. Back then it was two or more, and they were driving a black van. And seen oftentimes at literally hundreds of miles apart, but with the exact same description. So was it a concentrated effort? Was it mass hysteria? I don't know, but it's fascinating how just something like that can just start appearing, and then everybody starts seeing it.
It very much is. You know, do you think it's a lot of copycat, though, even with Dogman or Bigfoot?
I think there's some where if you put that in somebody's head, then they'll sometimes see what they want to see. I've got a story in my book called The Light in the Coffin about a guy out in the country that had been dating this girl, was walking back home to his house really late at night, took a shortcut through the woods, and saw what he thought was a coffin with a light in it. And scared him. He ran home and woke everybody up, and his mother, who was real superstitious, and, oh, yes, that's a bad sign, you know, and he was afraid he was going to be dead by morning because he'd seen a coffin with a light in it. Well, the whole house in uproar, and finally the dad says, okay, I've had enough of this nonsense. Come on, I'm going to take you. We're going to go back out there. We're going to find this coffin with a light in it. Well, comes to find out, it was a hollow tree that was partially bursted open there, and there was a firefly or a lightning bug caught in a spider web, and that was a light. But this guy, when he saw it, it was a coffin with a light in it. You know, there was no question about it. And if his father hadn't taken him back out there and shown him, you know, that it was nothing, it makes me wonder, you know, could he have killed himself just through sheer fright by thinking that he had saw that, and you know, hearing all this, well, oh, it's a bad omen, you're going to die, you know. It makes you, well, the power of the mind and the power of suggestion and seeing things, the brain will try to connect the dots sometimes where there's not really any dots to connect, and it just kind of fills in the spaces with whatever's in your mind. You know, it's dark, he's kind of scared anyway. There's a coffin with a light in it.
That's incredible. That's incredible. We've got about 6.5 minutes here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Steve Stockton is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's get back to Dogman here for a second. We hear about these encounters where people are freaked out, that they almost sense like this creature is foreboding, giving telepathic messages to them to get the heck out of the area as quickly as possible. What do you think about that idea of this alleged creature sending telepathic messages?
Well, that's something that tends to be common in alien cases, like the abduction cases and sightings of those type beings or creatures, or whatever you want to call it. They have the power, according to eyewitnesses and people that have encountered them, to converse telepathically. And I've heard the same said for Bigfoot. Another person I know that's been to Yosemite Ranch up in Washington claims that he communicated with the Bigfoot and that they were trying to teach him about how to get along with nature and live in harmony and all this. Now that's one idea of Bigfoot. And then in the same state, just a few miles from where that happened, you have Ape Canyon, where a bunch of miners were trapped in a cabin by what they described as ape men or big feet who kept them up all night by tossing boulders onto their shack that they're staying in. So is it, you know, just like a person, is there good ones and bad ones, and some that want peace and love, and others that just want to tear things up and chase you out of the area? But again, it might have been, you know, didn't like the miners because they're in there destroying nature and things like that. Who knows? But it's just, I think anything's possible, and if there is a way for it to communicate that way, why wouldn't it? And it might not even be able to speak any other way, since it's a wolf or a dog-like creature. And animals, you know, they tend to have their own ways of communicating with each other. So maybe it's just more advanced. Maybe it's something that we don't have, or that been kind of evolved out of us because we don't need it anymore. But it makes you wonder, because you hear about that in ancient times where people almost had that ability when the world was a lot bigger and there's a lot more space between areas, that some people were thought to be able to communicate that way, almost telepathically. Whereas now everything's gotten smaller and closer, and we've got all this really unique ways to communicate just with the lightning speed. Would we need an ability like that? So maybe one of those, you don't use it, you lose it type things. But God, like I said, I don't discount anything. There's been more than one description of that in different encounters. So yeah, I believe that it can converse telepathically or put the idea in the head to, hey, get out of here.
Steve, I want to ask you this, as we've got about 2.5 minutes here before we got to go to break. Dogman has always been seen as a creature that was more in the central to eastern United States. We're starting to get more reports here in the West, both in Canada and the United States. Why do you think this creature has all of a sudden made an appearance here in what is really known as Sasquatch territory?
Yeah, well, it could be, any number of things. It could be migratory. It could be working its way. I'd say it started east and then it's headed west for whatever reason. But I think some of the sightings that you have before, they talk about the skinwalkers and some of the shapeshifters and things. That may very well be Dogman, just described differently or through different lens or through a different culture, because I've heard some stories when I lived in Las Vegas of a lady that encountered a wolf that walked on 2 legs out in the desert in Nevada. Well, that's probably a Dogman story. She thought it was a wolf or some sort of strange coyote hybrid, but who's to say? Now, she was from back east. She was from New Orleans, but was living and working in Vegas and had gone out on the weekend just to explore in the desert out there in around the Arizona-Nevada border, and claimed I don't think it saw her, but she saw it, a wolf-like creature just plodding along in the desert on 2 legs.
That is so strange. I have no idea how I would react to seeing that. I really don't. I think my first instinct would be to get the heck out of Dodge.
Yeah, and reach for the camera phone if you've got one. Pull your phone out and try to get the capture of it. It just amazes me how many people have phones. I mean, everybody that has a phone that has a camera on it, which is like all of them, and yet in the moment you don't even think about it. I've heard people say that was the last thing on my mind. I was just, what am I seeing? What is that? What's going on? And they're like, oh, I should have taken a picture of it.
Oh, bad people. But, that's what fear does, though, Steve. We got about 30 seconds. That's what fear does.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between just a casual encounter and something that's more, maybe has more meaning or purpose, not necessarily to that person, but to somebody. That was one of the things my grandmother taught me. Sometimes you see things that's actually meant for other people, so your interpretation of it may be null and void.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Steve, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We are talking Dogman. We are talking Bigfoot. Cryptids of all stature, apparently, including, watch out for a Canadian-wielding axe man wearing plaid. Yeah, because apparently he's out there too. Up here they're just everywhere, Steve. They're everywhere. Yep. Come fall, the Axeman is going to be absolutely everywhere. Love it. More Spaced Out Radio coming up after this.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefoot?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time, because it's valuable, and yet you choose it to spend it with us. You know how much we appreciate that? A lot. A lot, let me tell you. Let me thank everybody listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across North America, including on Saga 960 in Mississauga, Ontario, and down in Ridgecrest, California, KZFX. Chuck with his beautiful goatee that's real tight there. Yeah, ownership is good there. Ownership is good. We want to also say hi to everybody listening in on Revolution Radio and TalkStream Live. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quarkonium. Quarkonium is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, rocking out to Bumblefoot, and a lot more. A plethora of more features, as they may say. And follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Tonight we are talking Dogman, Bigfoot, cryptids all over the place. Author, researcher Steve Stockton is with us, and he is breaking it all down. Steve, welcome back.
Oh, great to be here. Just want to say hi to everybody in the chat, everybody listening in on Terrestrial Radio. Thanks for tuning in. Happy to be here, Dave. Thanks for having me on.
All right, you're a guy who has had his own Dogman encounter, correct?
Well, possibly. I didn't actually see it, but from the way I've heard it described and things, what I heard and what I smelled was consistent with Dogman encounters.
Well, fill us in. What happened?
Well, it was just out in the woods, and I heard kind of and this was in East Tennessee, probably rather than, might have been even in Kentucky, Big South Fork National Recreation Area. In that area, I was out after dark, been out prowling around, and I heard what sounded like a kind of a growling, kind of a snuffling sound, and this overpowering. I mean, you've heard of the scent that comes along with Bigfoot, the skunk ape, as it's sometimes known. It smells like almost like rotting garbage. Well, it was a smell like this along with whatever creature this was, but it also had a very distinctive wet dog smell along with it. And from what I've heard, that's the way the Dogman is. It gives off a stench or an odor, but it smells more dog-like, where apparently Bigfoot just smells like hot garbage.
Really?
And
Really?
I heard whatever this was, and I knew it sounded larger than I was. I could tell by the sound of its breathing and kind of a low growl. Now, who knows? It might not have been a Dogman, but like I said, from what I've read and heard from eyewitness reports and encounters, it's consistent with a Dogman.
How close were you think?
Probably within 20 or 30 yards, but it was a heavily wooded area, and I couldn't see it, and I don't think it could see me, but it sensed me before I did it.
Okay, so you're 30 yards away from something that could possibly tear you in half with its arms. Did you get that sense of fear that many people talk about?
Yeah, it was almost like a fight or flight reaction, and I didn't really have anything to fight with, so didn't actually flee, didn't run away from the area, but carefully made my way away from it till I felt safe distance away, and then it didn't follow me. The growls didn't persist. The scent grew less, but just one of those things, wrong place, wrong time. I don't think I should have been where I'd been. I was in something's territory that didn't like me being there.
Interesting. So out of all the encounters that you have heard about with Dogman, give us a couple that, and go into detail about these, about what we're actually dealing with.
Again, it's a creature similar in size and shape to man, but has particular canine features with the head. Heard it described almost as a skinny Bigfoot, but with a snout and pointy ears. Whereas most people describe Bigfoot, it has an ape or almost human-like face. This is particularly canine or lupine. The best encounter that I've heard that described it well was the friend that saw it at the City Ranch, and she caught it in profile with the moon behind the creature, so that you could tell it was shaggy, kind of almost like a matted type, heavy fur, either dark brown or black, and just a very pronounced snout, nose, apparatus like a dog has, and the ears. She said that was the thing that had the very pointy, almost more wolf than dog ears. She first thought of it as a wolfman type creature, and then when she started researching what she'd seen and putting things together, she realized it was a Dogman. But it's bipedal. It walks. Just imagine a big shaggy dog. Very lean, very muscular. Until it wasn't, where Bigfoot is sometimes describing as being kind of heavy set. This was lean, very capable of running swiftly and things that a dog or a wolf could do. You tend to see large dogs like that have a lot of muscle and things. But she wasn't necessarily scared of it as she was just curious. But she said she was, didn't want to reach out and touch it or anything. She wasn't really that close to it. She was within actually a few feet of it. But she could see where it was breathing. It was in the, I think it wasn't in the winter months. It was probably more in the fall. But she could see the breath, the vapor from where the thing was breathing in profile.
Was it a loud breather?
That's too close for me. It was kind of growling and kind of it was almost like a cross between a whine and a growl, and it's breathing like it had been running. She didn't actually see it run. She did see it walk a few steps. It stepped out from behind some brush, but she said it was definitely on two legs, and she was almost mesmerized at first. It took her. Said it was probably just a few seconds, but it seemed like minutes before she kind of the paralysis of wonder that she had broken. She's like, maybe I shouldn't be this close to whatever this is, and she just slowly and reverently backed away. She kept looking back, to make sure she wasn't going to fall over anything, but she kept an eye on it to make sure that it didn't follow. And that was in Washington State. But that's the best personal encounter that I've heard somebody tell that I know. It's somebody that I know. It's somebody that I'd had worked with in the past, and knew that a lot of times that makes a difference too. If you know somebody, you know how they've lived their life, and that they're not a drug addict or open to flights of fancy or anything like this. This was a stable career person that had never just made things up, to my knowledge, never had any real wild encounters or anything like that. But to hear her describe it and just in that detail, being able to see the fur, the matted fur, and the breath and the pointy ears. She said that was the thing. It just had very small ears with typical triangle-like shape. But
do a lot of these.
Close.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just saying I would love to have a sighting that close where I could see that much detail on anything. Bigfoot, Dogman, even Flannel Man.
Interesting. Now, do a lot of these cases with Dogman or Bigfoot seem to have ties, in your opinion, to UFOs?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's in areas where there's usually a lot of UFO activity, but it doesn't necessarily, one doesn't have to do with the other, even though it's kind of, and you have that anywhere that's a UFO hotspot or there seems to be a portal for that sort of thing, then you have the cryptids. Places I can name off of Joshua Tree in California, Mount Shasta in California. I've got a whole video on my channel about some of the weird goings on there. Even back east in Vermont, like the Bennington Triangle area, UFOs, Bigfoot, Dogman, it seems to sort of go along. And I think that supports the theory that a lot of people have, that there is some kind of portal or vortex or some kind of energy in the area, whether it draws these things or if it's a place where they pop into this dimension. However you want to look at it, I think it kind of makes sense. I don't think they're not necessarily associated with each other, but that they do happen in some of the same areas and with some of the same regularity.
Steve Stockton is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Out of all the reports you have heard, is there any that just stick with you out in your mind that you could share with us?
Some of the ones that really I find terrifying are the ones where the people have been attacked or almost attacked, where they've actually fled for their lives and been chased by the thing. And, to look back and see a dog or a wolf or whatever it is on two legs chasing you, that's a change of underwear right there, would be for me. Those really stick with the people there's one guy that I read about that had his clothing torn. It ripped the sleeve off his shirt and scratched him. I mean, that's a little too close for comfort. If it's close enough to get a hold of your clothing and scratch you, then the next foray in, it's going to take flesh with it. But he was able to get away from it. I think he jumped off of a bank into the river or something to get away from it.
Oh, wow. I couldn't imagine trying to run away from one of these things. I mean, you'd have to think that that's not going to be a very long chase.
Yeah. And
I mean,
from what I've heard,
fast?
They stalk their prey. They don't. The ones that I've heard about attacked, it was just like a last instant type thing where the person had been hearing footsteps, could tell something was following them, and then all of a sudden, just there it is. It comes out. Hey, that would be just absolutely terrifying to know that whatever it is, it's not afraid of you. The majority of animals in the woods, even bear, most of the time they'll run from you unless you've got food, or if you get between a mama bear and her cubs, they'll come after you. But for the most part, any kind of animal, even big cats, mountain lions, things like that, they will tend to avoid humans if they can. But for something to stalk you and track you and to be after you, that's frightening. That makes you realize that we're not at the top of the food chain necessarily all the time.
No, but I'm assuming that this creature can run fairly quickly.
Yeah, even on two legs, it's it can move on from what I've heard, and then can run even faster on four. So yeah, it wouldn't be much of a chase with me, I'm afraid. I just give up, because otherwise I'd just die tired if I tried to run away from it.
Makes very much sense. Very much sense. Is that the same as Bigfoot, though?
Well, the Bigfoot attacks, in as much there's you don't hear a lot about those for some reason. I don't know. Again, it tends to be, I consider it almost a shy type creature, that it doesn't want necessarily anything to do with humans, although there are, a few specific examples like the Ape Canyon incident, and that one, the Bigfoot reached through a small window in the cabin, even tried to grab an axe. So, but the Bigfoot, they tend to be more pacifistic, I think, and nonviolent, and less pushed. And I think, the particular the Ape Canyon incident, why those were so angry. One of the miners claimed to have shot one of them and thought he killed it. And there's been a lot of talk about that recently. There's a paranormal outfit in Washington State that's gone up there, and they think they've located where the actual cabin was. It's just in the shadow of Mount St. Helens there. But if they can find the cabin where that cabin stood, and it burned down, I think, like back in the 50s or 60s. So this happened in the 1920s. But they think that there might be a skeleton there if the guy did kill one of them like he claims to have. So that'd be interesting. That's something I've always thought about, that I hope if they ever do find a Bigfoot that it's already deceased. I would hate for them to find any kind of creature, cryptid like that, that they could take alive. Because imagine the hell that it would be put through. It'd be poked and prodded and studied and have its blood drawn and be put in a cage, and that'd be a fate worse than death. So I don't advocate killing any kind of cryptid, but if they ever do find a carcass, I hope it's already dead. I don't want anybody to kill one. I don't want them to take one alive, even something seemingly mean like the Dogman or something.
No, absolutely. And I would agree with you there. But there are many people out there who feel that by any means necessary, we need to get that body for scientific purposes and to prove the species is really real.
Yeah, I can understand their argument, even though I don't agree with it. I'm not a hunter myself, even though I enjoy the woods and enjoy going out in the woods and being around where people are hunting and things. It just, I never cared for it. Just not even for, I suppose I would do it if it was that starved, but I don't have the heart to kill another creature like that. And especially something like a Bigfoot that seems to have, in some cases, compassion and empathy and things like that, that appears to be just some sort of strange creature that wants to be left alone. I totally understand that. That's me. I'm a hermit by choice. I've been self-isolating for years. This is just, I've been waiting for something like this to happen. But just, as a writer, and like to stay to myself and things. So I only got out about once a month anyway. But I can understand the Dogman again. That I could see maybe one of those having to be killed if it was attacking someone. Certainly, to defend yourself. But be interesting. But as far as I know, I've heard of people shooting at them and claiming to have shot them, but to no effect. It might run away or get away, but there's never been a carcass or anything found that I'm aware of that was legitimate.
Why do we need to prove these creatures?
Well, that's a good question. It would, I think with anything like that, it's because there was a time, when gorillas were thought to be a myth, like back around the turn of the last century. That was thought to be a legend, and it wasn't until they actually found one and started studying and things that realized, okay, this does exist. So I think there are things out there that we don't know about. There's probably, and I've read things to this effect, that there are more species, say in the Amazon, for example, that haven't been cataloged than those that have been. So who knows what's out there? And maybe that's what this is. And I can see doing it for scientific purposes and things, but that's just part of the human condition, and wanting to study and educate yourself and gain knowledge over your surroundings and in the world. And I think that's what it is. And then there's also the paranormal, the supernatural, the mystical side of that. People are seeking answers. And I think in these times more so than they normally would have been. You had things, prior, say, in the early 1900s, you had the Spiritualism Movement. And that's what that was. And opened the door, for a lot of gimmickry with the false mediums and the spirit photography and all that. It seems like anytime there's a shift in the paradigm there, people go about a new way of seeking answers. So maybe that's kind of where this comes from, that to find out who we are, we need to find out what these things are and why they're there and why they're able to do things like maybe speak telepathically or shapeshift or teleport or travel through portals. What if we could learn from them how to do that? What if we could use portals for travel and transportation? Wouldn't that be amazing? So there are scientific reasons for research, and then just sheer human curiosity in the unknown, I think, is the other side of that coin.
All right, let's get to a question from Lee A. here in the chat room. What other critters besides Bigfoot or Dogman are out there in the woods?
Well, a lot of that depends on the area that you live in. Like down south, East Tennessee area, there you have the wampus cat, which is, a different type of bobcat. It's usually crossed with another creature too. And you get stories like that of things that, now there's some things that are just sheer imagination, things that are just made up to entertain kids or scare the timid. But there are some other things like that out there. There's the snallygaster, there's different types of birds and things where you have Mothman, things like that. That's something that's on the rise, is the sightings of winged cryptids, particularly around Chicago and that area in the Midwest there. Don't know what that's all about. The last time there were a lot of Mothman sightings here in West Virginia, there you had the collapse of the Silver Bridge back in the 60s and a huge loss of life. And a lot of people claim that the Mothman was a warning for that, or that maybe it even caused it because it was seen supposedly sitting on the Silver Bridge in the area where the pin sheared that caused the bridge to collapse. So is something about to happen in Chicago? I don't know. And then there's been sightings in Wisconsin lately too, of a winged cryptid, humanoid type figure with wings. Some people claim that it's visitations from angels. Some people say demons that are drawn there for some reason, or again, it's open to conjecture. But there's just all kinds of things out there that we don't understand, and that's the thing about studying these things and delving into the paranormal. My buddy Cisco Murdoch, she has a podcast called Journey Through the Gate Paranormal, and we also wrote a book together. She describes the paranormal as like being an onion. You peel back a layer, there's another layer. You peel back that layer, there's more onion. And, is there even a center to get to? And I think that's a real apt way to describe the paranormal, that there aren't any answers. And she and other people I've talked to that have been literally doing this all our lives, we don't find answers, but we find that we have more questions. But I think that's how you learn, is through questions. And again, for me, I'm not as much an investigator as I used to be. I did that more back in the 80s. Now I'm more of a legend tripper. I like to go and visit places where these stories have taken place, and just to kind of bask in the vibe of the place. Because a lot of these places, they have a strange feel to them, and it's palpable.
Steve, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Cryptid investigator and author Steve Stockton continues with us on Spaced Out Radio coming up after this.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Need that weekend weekend's supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for hanging on out with us. We really do appreciate that. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do Davey the favor here and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirks' SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. We continue tonight with researcher and author of everything cryptid, Bigfoot, Dogman, gnomes, flannel man, whatever it may be, he is chasing it down, and he's figuring out the answers. Steve Stockton is our guest tonight. Steve, I want to talk a little Bigfoot with you here for a moment. Because a couple of times you have mentioned Ape Canyon. And that is a very, very historic piece of Sasquatch investigation and history. Let's go back in time. Tell us what happened there.
It was in the early 1920s. A group of miners, Washington State, were mining this particular area. It's just in the shadow of Mount St. Helens. If it's not right on Mount St. Helens, it's nearby. And they had a little cabin that they were staying in there at night. And sometime during the day, they had encountered what they described. They first described them as ape men. They didn't really have a Bigfoot or Sasquatch or anything. It wasn't a part of the vernacular back then. And they described these ape men as observing them from a canyon rim up above where they were at. And one of the guys took a shot at one of them and thought that he hit it and saw it fall off the canyon down into where they were. And then just like all hell broke loose. As soon as it started getting dark, these creatures returned. There were more of them. There was like a half dozen or more. And they started throwing these huge boulders onto this mining shack. The men were afraid to come out. There were, I think, 4 in all that were in there. I made a video about it for another channel. If you do a search on YouTube for Ape Canyon Bigfoot attacks, you can find it. It's on Unicorp's Tales channel, friend of mine from the UK. And they basically, the attack continued all night. And there's even parts of it where the ape men, the big feet, whatever they were trying to get in the cabin. One witness described a big hairy arm that reached through and tried to grab an axe through a small window, but of course he was holding the axe in his hand and couldn't draw it back out through the window because he didn't think to turn it, where it would go out. So instead it was blocking its own way out. And I think they hit it, smacked it with something and got it to drop it. And went on all night. The next morning they got out of the area, and the tale is I can't not think of the gentleman's name right now, but one of the main ones, the miner that thought he shot one of the creatures, wrote a book about it, and it's out there. You can find the reprints of it and parts of it online. It's a very, very fascinating tale, And as I mentioned earlier, there's a paranormal group in Washington State called Blackwaters Paranormal. Now, that's different than the Blackwaters network that does things here on YouTube. But Blackwaters Paranormal, maybe it's Darkwaters Paranormal, they had several expeditions up there, and they found the area where they believe the cabin to be. It had burned down, I think in the late 50s, early 60s, and they found what they believed to be some of the main beams, some of the rough-hewn nails and things that were holding it together. And so if they have located the cabin, then short distance away there should be, if the story is to be believed, there should be a skeleton somewhere from the Sasquatch that the guy shot and killed. So they're keeping it kind of hush-hush. They're not giving out any GPS coordinates or anything like that. It is a very isolated area. But that just helps add to the credence that this is where it happened, because it wasn't a very heavily mined or even forested area. So just the sheer fact that they found a cabin in this area points to the fact that it probably is the cabin. So interesting to see what they come up with. I'm watching for more information on that. But that's one of the few times when it was just a real ordeal, that level of attack.
Interesting. One of the things,
they shot one of them.
One of the things that we heard about the Ape Canyon was that these Sasquatch were allegedly a very aggressive pack, if we could call them a pack. Do you believe this to be true, considering that most Sasquatch encounters on the West Coast here are usually very docile and fleeting?
Yeah, it is interesting in that regard, but then again, the miners were aggressive toward him. The one guy shooting at them and claimed that he was shot and killed one. So I don't really know. They don't go into that detail in the account whether these creatures were aggressive before, if they were the first aggressor, or if the people started the aggression and then the big feet became aggressive back. But either way, they were obviously in its territory, and but yeah, that is the unusual part of it. And that's the only thing I can think of in way of an explanation is, they tried to attack these creatures, shot at them, shot one of them, and that could have precipitated the attack. The start.
Fast forward to 1980. May 18th, we just celebrated the 40th anniversary of the eruption of Mount St. Helens in Washington State, if we're actually supposed to celebrate those things, because people did die there. But there was also a conspiracy that goes along with that Army Rangers from what's the base there in Tacoma? It's skipping my mind right now.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Fort Lewis, Washington, had actually loaded up the bodies of Sasquatch from that explosive site of Mount St. Helens. Have you ever looked into that?
I've not looked into it, but I have heard those rumors. I wasn't living out here at the time. I was still in Tennessee in 1980. But I have heard that, and there was even a guy going around telling the story for a while at some of the paranormal conventions and things that they had indeed that Bigfoot had been killed during the Mount St. Helens eruption, and that the government had bodies on ice somewhere as proof. I have heard the story going back at least 20, 25 years. So, also heard the same thing about the alien bodies. So who knows? But, that would be a surefire way to find them, I think, was after that had happened, because if you've seen the before and after pictures, it was just total devastation. And, it probably wouldn't be that hard to find things that looked out of place.
It's still amazing 40 years later, when you fly over, for instance, if you're flying out of Vancouver or Seattle and you're heading south to, whether it's to Vegas or Arizona, New Mexico, or Texas or Mexico, you have to fly right over Mount St. Helens. And it's still amazing to look at 40 years later that, a quarter of that mountain collapsed with that explosion.
I can see it from where I live. I was looking at it today and just thinking the same thing, that the old picture's how it used to look and how it looks now. There's the whole top of it's gone.
Oh yeah, that was a freaky day. All right, so do you buy the story that the military went in there to collect Sasquatch bodies? What's your personal thought on that?
Well, personally, I can't see them necessarily going in there just to do that, but I could see it happening maybe as just, a side thing, like they're in there for some other reason and just happened to come across these bodies. But again, why would they hide it? What's the point in hiding it? There was even some conjecture that it was a planned event to wipe out the Bigfoot in the area because they were becoming more aggressive, and the army was getting afraid of them. So I don't know about that, but that's just, that's the thing with the rumor mill. You can hear all kinds of things, but I can't see the government, setting off Mount St. Helens just to wipe out Bigfoot.
Yeah, I don't see that either. I really don't. Steve Stockton is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Sticking with Bigfoot for a second, we talked about how the West Coast Sasquatch always seems to have this real docile, get the hell out of Dodge as quickly as possible type attitude. Yet when you look at the southern states from New Orleans all the way over to Florida, we hear of a smaller creature, a much more aggressive creature, that is ready to attack at any time. What's your thoughts? Do you believe there are different breeds of Sasquatch, or do you believe that they just adapt to their environment, and the environment that these Sasquatch would be living in the bayous with crocodiles, alligators, water moccasins, big cats? I mean, you'd have to be aggressive to stay alive. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. I think that's closer to the truth, probably, that they're all similar of the same species anyway, and they just adapt, just like you have people that are adapted to their regions and their environment and things. I think the Sasquatch, being in so much that it's at least partially human, or seems to be, that it's done the same thing, and because the different stories that you get, like in Florida, you have the skunk ape, which, like you said, it's smaller, but it still it's just the same type of cryptid. I think just a regional variation of it.
That is scary. Now, what's the closest you've ever been to a Bigfoot?
It'd have to be the encounter that I talked about in the Jefferson National Forest, where I was close enough that they were throwing stones at me. And that was the weirdest thing, Dave, because the stones didn't follow any kind of arc, like anybody was lobbing them at me, but they were coming straight out of the forest. They were from several different directions at the same time. And it didn't hurt, but it's like I couldn't feel them striking me. The only reason I knew I was getting hit with rocks, I heard them hitting the ground, and then saw, all these are rocks. And I picked one up, and it was warm, almost hot to the touch. And in this particular area, the Jefferson National Forest, which is on the Appalachian Trail near Damascus, Virginia, that's been a hotbed of sightings there, and that's part of the reason I was in there. It was about 2:00 in the morning. I was off trail, but I had GPS. That's my thing. I like to get off the trail when I can, and that's they don't recommend that you do that, but I trust my Garmin as long as I remember to take extra batteries. But I think I'd gotten into somewhere where I wasn't supposed to be. Said I'd been hearing the knocks and the whoops, and there's a lot of activity in there anyway. And it sounded like two adults. Maybe both males, maybe one male, one female, and then a smaller one closer, but kind of in the middle between the other two. And I think maybe that's what it was, that I was close to a youth Bigfoot, if there's such thing. And the other two maybe were parents or some kind of guardians of it. And that's why the rock throwing was going on, like to try to draw me away from where the babyfoot or whatever you want to call it was. And that kind of makes sense. Some animals in the animal kingdom, birds in particular, will do that. There's birds that will act injured to draw a predator away from the nest. and things like that, So again, and then even like bear and things like that, they become aggressive. You get between a mama bear and her cub, you're going to get hurt. That's about the only time, particularly with the black bear that we have in the Smoky Mountains there. That's about the only time you hear them ever attacking a human, is if there's a cub involved. Otherwise, they're friendly, they're dopey, they're looking for something to eat. But they come to a point where they're not friendly. And I kind of think that's what that was. And I said it was close enough they could hit me with a stone. So that's, in some regards, I guess that's too close. But I didn't see anything. That was the only disappointment with that story. I didn't actually cite anything, but said it was around 2:30 in the morning, and it was pitch black. I didn't have a headlamp or anything on at the time. I'd stopped. It was just kind of listening to all this going on, and that's when it started happening. So maybe I'd shine the light around, but I decided if I'm getting pelted with rocks, it's probably a good time to move on, or maybe the rocks will get bigger and they attack more aggressive. So took the loss and went the other direction.
Question from our Space Travelers Club from Joey. Just getting back to Dogman for a second. He is asking, have you ever done, Steve, any experiments in the field concerning Dogman along the lines of a dog's ability, such as ultrasonic for hearing or ultraviolet light for sight?
Haven't done the ultraviolet, but I have used the dog whistles before, the high pitch, the silent dog whistle with the high pitch that only dogs can hear. I've also heard of people having success with that in areas where Bigfoot are. So, any animal is going to have a better or higher hearing range, more frequencies than we're capable of. I have heard of people using the light to some degree. I've tried it, didn't necessarily work, but again, maybe there wasn't anything around. Maybe it's maybe it just annoyed them, made them go the other way. It's hard to tell. When you're trying to factor in an unknown like that, it can really skew the data and anything. And that's why I said I'm more of a legend tripper. I like to go not so much as an investigator, but as an observer. And so I don't do a lot of experiments and things like that anymore. I did a lot of that back in the 80s with Bigfoot and with ghosts and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's fascinating. I'll have to look into the things with the light spectrum there. But I've often wondered if just if you could draw them out with food and things. I know people that have tried that have left raw beef carcass and things like that to try to lure them out. But I don't know what to eat. Don't really hear of my phone's talking to me here. Don't really hear of feeding on anything domestic. The only cattle mutilations and things like that hear about are usually UFO related. I haven't. Doesn't mean they don't exist. Just that I haven't heard of them. But I don't recall having heard of any Dogman encounters necessarily where they've attacked farm animals or things like that. Although I have heard stories coming out of England and Wales where there's some sheep that have been partially devoured by some sort of creature. But you have a lot of big cats over there, black panthers. Those are more cryptozoological than cryptid. They're large cats in places where there aren't supposed to be large cats, but that happens sometimes. So don't know that it's Dogman related, but if that's to me, that's an interesting question. If they are canine or lupine in characteristics, then what do they feed on?
All right, next question comes from Overbuilt. He's looking for a girlfriend, so don't mind this one. He's asking, would the guest entertain the advances of an extremely friendly dog lady, being that she was very nice and well-groomed?
I'd have to draw the line at a different species.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. Me too. That's where it just gets a little too weird for all of us. And, yeah, I'm not going there. I am so not going there. But that's our audience there. That's our audience.
Interesting. First time I've ever been asked that. Also, the YouTube chat here, Darcy is asking anything about the Dennis Martin case. Now, that's a famous missing persons case from the Smokies. Dennis Martin, 6 years old, went missing in 1969 on Father's Day. He was in the Cades Cove part of the park area known as Spencefield with his father, his brother, and his grandfather, and went missing, never been found since. It's been like 50 years, over 50 years now. So if there's anything new about the Dennis Martin case, I heard something really interesting recently. And again, this is all rumor and conjecture. I don't have anything to back it up. But if you're familiar with the case, there was a family called the Key family that observed what they called a large, hairy, rough-looking man carrying something on its shoulder running up a little hollow there. Well, found out and I've heard these rumors when I lived in East Tennessee, but there's supposedly somebody that's done some research, claims that there are a group of wild people that have been living in the park. And this I've heard that rumored before too. Dwight McCarter, who was he's retired now, but he was former lead tracker and a longtime park ranger there. He talked about wild people that lived in the park. Well, this kind of ties everything in with Dennis Martin, that these wild people, some people say it's Bigfoot, some people just say it's people that live off the grid, and wild mountain men. But anyway, they apparently took him, and then that's why the Green Berets were called into the case. So normally the Green Berets don't assist with a missing child case. When they came into the park, they refused to work with any of the park authorities. They used their own radio channels, did their own thing. Well, that was supposedly the story that's coming out now. The Army went in there and just obliterated this group of Bigfoot or Sasquatch or wild men or whatever, because this wasn't the first time that they'd taken people. And that was why it was kept so hush-hush. The FBI agent that was involved with the case later committed suicide under mysterious circumstances. There was just a lot of things about that case that doesn't add up. But these rumors that I'm hearing now that this person, I'm not at liberty to say when all this is going to come out, but he's working on something that's going to just blow the lid off and tie that all together. And it's some sort of wild, hairy men. So you can consider that to be just maybe some kind of weird Tennessee hillbillies or Bigfoot type creature that the Army went in and just dispatched en masse because they were taking people. But it would clear up a lot and tie up a lot of loose ends together on the Dennis Martin disappearance. Absolutely.
We have under a minute to go here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour here. Steve Stockton is our guest tonight. That sounds like a story right out of what David Paulides and his Missing 411 would carry. You know, is that something that is very familiar? Do you believe Bigfoot is kidnapping little children and people?
It makes you wonder because, again, a lot of the places where those missings occur are also areas where there's Bigfoot activity. But, you know, it tends to be, particularly with the 411 stuff, it's in national parks and national forests and state parks and state forests and things like that. So, again, is it one because of the other? Is it just coincidental? Of course, that's, you know, in the wilderness, that's where you're going to have Bigfoot most likely, and that's where the people are going disappearing. So it could be related. I think it would bear looking into, certainly.
All right. I'm going to get you to hold on there because we got to go to break here at the top of the hour. Steve Stockton is our guest tonight. We have him for another 30 minutes that we're going to talk Bigfoot, Dogman, and other cryptids here. Then we're going to get to the SOR Newswire at the bottom of the hour with the thought of the day. Stay tuned. More Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefoot?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, We're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Thank you so much for tuning us in tonight. Hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. I am your host, Dave Scott. I really appreciate all of you tuning us in. We welcome back all of our terrestrial affiliates across the continent and on the digital side on Revolution Radio and TalkStream Live. Remember, you can check out all of our YouTube, make that our archives on YouTube at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quarkonium. Quarkonium is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. If you're on Twitter and you're not following us yet, why not? At Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle, at Dave Scott SOR. For the final time tonight, we introduce author, podcaster, researcher, guy does it all. Steve Stockton is here with us, and we are hanging out talking Bigfoot, Dogman, and all sorts of weird stuff here. Steve, important question from the audience here, because we always like to have this great debate. What's your thoughts on eating breakfast meals for dinner?
I love it. I just responded to somebody there in the chat. I'm a big fan of midnight breakfast. Back home in East Tennessee, we had a restaurant called Shoney's, and they're nationwide, but under different names. They're also known as Frisch's and Friendly's and some other things like that. And they have a breakfast bar that starts at 11 and goes to like 2 o'clock in the morning when they close. And I love that. I love breakfast as an evening meal. That's my favorite time to eat breakfast, is at night or early in the morning, like around midnight to 2 a.m.
All right, another good man gone to waste. Another good man gone to waste. My goodness. Okay, the second question, I know it's going to come up next. When it comes to Devil's Tower in Wyoming, are you on Team Stump or are you on Team Rock?
That's a tough one. I can see both, but it looks to me it looks more like a stump. If I would just saw it, I think that looks like a stump.
Yes. We're 1 for 2 tonight. We're 1 for 2. All right. Now that we got the important questions out of the way tonight, Nicole is asking on Facebook about whether or not you have noticed Dogman sightings increase with the lunar cycle.
Now that would be interesting to put a correlation with that. I haven't noticed it, but it would be plausible. I'll have to check into that, because if you go back to the legends of the werewolf, the Wolfman, particularly from Eastern Europe, it involved the moon. The full moon was when they're active, and anybody ask a nurse that works in the emergency room, or ask a policeman, ask anybody that works in those type of fields, there is technically a lunacy that goes along with the full moon. That's where the word lunacy or lunatic comes from. It has to do with the moon. But nurses and police officers will tell you see an uptick in not only violence, but in just weird things that happen during a full moon. So I would think that any kind of paranormal, cryptid, anything like that, I think you're going to see it uptick with the full moon, but particularly Dogman, since it's especially on the lupine, the wolf side of, and there's some people that claim that it really is a wolfman or a werewolf type thing, and just that it's the Dogman is kind of a misnomer, that it's really just a shaggy wolf instead of a shaggy dog. But till I see one, I'll reserve judgment. But I could see it going either way. I mean, they're very similar, and if you're out in the dark and something's after you, maybe not necessarily going to take the time to identify it correctly. Is that a wolf man or a dog man? I'll try to sort it out later.
It is totally weird and totally freaky, and I really don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, when we say Dogman, the first thing that comes to their mind is, aren't you talking about werewolves? Yet there's a difference.
I was asking if a taser would be adequate against a Dogman. I don't know, but I wouldn't want to necessarily be the person that tested it out. So if it worked, fine. I'd hate to taser even a Dogman. I wouldn't want to do that. But what if it didn't work? What if it only made it mad? Then you'd be in for it. Probably either eat you or use the taser on you and then eat you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Who wins in a Dogman versus Bigfoot fight?
Well, I don't know. I kind of see it going either way. Bigfoot's got the size and the reach, but Dogman would have to have the quickness and the cunning, I think. It would be hard to call. The Dogman seems to be more vicious, but I don't know, Bigfoot, maybe if you made him mad just because of his sheer size and strength, he could just crumple a Dogman. Interesting concept. I love some of these questions I'm getting.
Well, and the reason why I asked that is we see a lot of people making reports of Dogman, which have been traditionally in Bigfoot territory or Sasquatch territory. And there is no way that these two types of apex predators, if they are real, would allow each other into each other's territory without some sort of scrap going on. And I'm surprised that we haven't had any eyewitness claims to this yet.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. And somebody in the chat was just saying that maybe it's a shapeshifter, and it's the same thing. Sometimes it's a Bigfoot, sometimes it's a Dogman. Just it depends on how he's feeling that day, I guess, or what he's going to be doing later on. Interesting.
So do you think that
different all the way around? What if it's neither one, but it can choose either of those forms? Something that we don't know about at all. A true shapeshifter that has its pick of things.
Do you believe it is a shapeshifter?
Well, I think to some degree, yes, but I don't know that it necessarily shapeshifts between Bigfoot and Dogman. I've heard reports of people, this is more of a southwestern style Dogman, where they've seen people that change, that shapeshift into a Dogman type creature. So, wow, that's just, we're getting into such mind-bending territory here. But what if it is like the Glimmer Man? What if it's all tied together, that it's some kind of creature that can mimic whatever it wants to mimic? If it feels like Bigfoot today, if it wants to be, the tall, quiet, shy type, can do that. If it wants to be a dog that walks on two legs and, and is vicious and tends to attack, it can do that. And then maybe the rest of the time it just wants to be almost invisible, hang out on the tops of trees. I think there's an overlap there. I think it's different entities, but they're somehow akin in some way. They're kind of from the same portal, from the same energy, from the same whatever part of the cosmos they come from. I think they are, from what I've seen, they're from somewhere else. They're from a different realm.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I think so too. I'm not very much convinced that we're dealing with an ape-like creature with Bigfoot, and I don't know what the heck we're dealing with Dogman. But I mean, it is something that I think we have to investigate a lot more. And if they do have these abilities, I mean, next comes the question, where do they go?
Mm-hmm. And again, that would kind of, fall in with the Glimmer Man, or the predator type creature, that's able to cloak itself or disappear. I mean, you have that in nature. You have a lot of animals and birds and insects and things that can camouflage themselves just to keep from becoming prey, or for whatever reason. So who's to say that whatever this is can't do the same thing? But it's like with the famed elephant graveyard on the African continent. Supposedly there's some place that elephants go to die that they've never found. And you think about that. I mean, I've been out in the woods a lot, and I've never come across even a bear carcass. And the only time I've ever found a deer, it was one that had been poached, out of season or something like that. You don't find a lot of animals in the woods that just died there. Now, of course, there's predation by smaller creatures that'll come in and wipe it out and scatter the bones, and there won't be anything left in a short time. But I think if these were just regular, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. If they were some type of creature or species that were just not mystical or something strange, I think we would find some sort of remainder, some bones, occasional body, something. But there's no evidence that I know of that's ever been found of anything like that, other than a few hair fibers and some things like that the DNA wasn't enough to have any provenance. But it's interesting. Like I said, you don't find dead anything in the woods, so that doesn't necessarily point to it being real or not being real, but you would think there would be something out there, because there are, you can find bear bones and bear claws and things like that, occasionally a skull that hadn't been eaten by smaller predators. That's interesting. But it's the same when people missing. There's been cases where no trace, like with Dennis Martin. The only thing they found, there was maybe one footprint and they weren't even sure that was his, but there was no blood, no sign of a struggle, no clothing, nothing. And how a person, even a small child, can go missing like that. I mean, it has to point to some sort of abduction, I would think, whether by human means or by some type of creature. Because if you look at cases where it's a known predator attack, say a mountain lion or something like that, there's blood, there's hair, there's ripped clothing, there's disturbed ground around there and things. So an animal attack is very different than whatever these things are in the national parks and the woods that are taking people. And there's David Politis has written about it. Steph Young, she's got some just amazing books about those type of disappearances and things. There's something out there, and it likes people. I don't know if it's eating them or taking them for some other nefarious means. And you get into a whole other realm there that's the government has a pact with the aliens, and they're allowing the aliens to take so many people per year for testing and breeding purposes. And, it gets way out into the stratosphere with some of the conspiracy theories and things that you hear. But those people are going somewhere, and whatever it is, it takes them without a trace, without a disturbance. And as David Paulides likes to point out, whatever it is, it's 100% successful.
So far, so much, I could just never imagine what that would be like. And just, having one of my children just disappear right in front of me or right around me, when they're supposed to be within 10, 15 feet. I mean, yet we hear that all the time, and there's no sounds, there's no nothing. It's just gone. The child is gone.
And a lot of strange, almost Fortean stuff that goes along with that. A lot of people that disappear were wearing red, or were picking berries, or were of Germanic lineage. Tends to be people with higher IQs, doctors, lawyers, scientists, people like that tend to go missing more so than lesser educated people. So if it is selective, it's selecting things for a reason. Red, that would kind of make sense. It's easy to spot. Don't know where the berry things come in, but then that ties into a whole other realm of thinking about the elementals and the fae or the fairy folk, and people that disrespect the little people. Even the Cherokee have a legend in the Smokies about a race of little people that lives in the mountains there, and the Cherokee know how to peacefully coexist with them. But if you don't, you're in for a lot of trouble. If you don't make peace with them, they can make sure that you go missing. That's one of their tricks, is to use a fairy light or a fairy lantern and lead you off into the wilderness and never to be seen again. And I know a guy that was out in the national park after dark and was hunting out of season. That's a long time ago. And he saw what he thought was another hunter. He was out hunting for a raccoon or possum. And this has been the old days of the carbide lights, which is a little headlamp that you wore that used calcium carbide as a source. You put water in that, it gives off a gas. You light the gas and you can see where you're going. It's a very rudimentary version of a headlamp. And his had used up all his carbide, so he sees another light. He starts following that. He's right along, and he thinks, I'm just, close, probably another hunter. And all of a sudden, he steps off about a 12, 15-foot little drop-off there. And whatever, he said, he watched the light go right across it. But yet it was moving like somebody walking. And then he didn't break anything, but it stove him up pretty good, and had to go back the next day and look for his gun, and said he found it stuck barrel first in the ground where he'd fallen. But what he thought was another hunter, he said it looked like somebody with a lantern or a light like his. And that goes right along with the Cherokee legend, that if you're in there and you're being disrespectful to nature, which poaching I assume would be, then they can lead you out of there. And another thing that I've found interesting that a lot of people talk about, particularly in the deep woods or in the wilderness, is the silence that happens sometimes. And I've experienced that a lot in the Smokies, mainly there because that's where I spent most of my time when I lived back east. But Dave, it's the weirdest thing. It's like suddenly you just realize that there is absolutely no sound. You don't hear any water. You don't hear the wind in the trees. You don't hear any birds. Nothing. It's like somebody just took the volume knob and turned everything down, or you've gone stone deaf. And then it'll slowly, like the volume's been turned up real slow, you'll hear the sounds start to come back. And I've heard people talk about that's a sign that you're in a place you're not supposed to be. And that when that happens, you need to go another direction. But I've experienced that a lot. It's very unsettling, very chilling almost. It's like a vacuum. There's just absolutely no sound. And also in the Smokies, there are places. There was a place I encountered one time. I'd gone off the trail, and I walked into a little clearing, and all of a sudden I was looking at just the most beautiful tree I'd ever seen. And the way the sun was hitting it, and it looked like a Disney tree. It didn't even look real. It looked like an Imagineer had built this tree out there. And I thought, this would be a good spot to just lay down and relax. I could probably take a nap here. And then it's just all of a sudden it just like came to my senses, like, why am I even entertaining that thought? I don't want to lay down out here in the woods and go to sleep. It was like whatever I had encountered there was kind of lulling me, giving me this false sense of security, pulling me in. And I wonder if I'd followed that initial feeling and laid down under that tree and took a nap, would I have ever been heard from again? I think things like that are, a little on that kind of Twilight Zone side happen out there in the woods.
Scary stuff, man. Scary stuff. Cherie is asking, have you ever had anyone report Dogman puppy sightings?
That's, and then just even rarely with the Bigfoot stuff. I know, like author Cisco Murdoch, she and I wrote a book together. She encountered a baby Bigfoot on the side of the road. Even those are unheard of, pretty much. But I don't recall having heard anything about a smaller, younger version of the Dogman. The ones that I've heard about tend to assumingly be a male and to be, adults. I haven't heard of any pups or yearlings or anything, but that's interesting because, do they stay where they're from, wherever their origin is, until they're adults to come out, or they come out fully formed? Do they not grow like a normal dog or a wolf or anything? Interesting. This strange concept to consider.
Totally. My friend, we've got about 2.5 minutes left with you tonight. And I want to say thank you so much for joining us and, bringing some real entertainment and knowledge to this subject tonight. I really do appreciate that.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, Dave. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for everybody that's tuned in. Check me out on YouTube. I'm 13 Past Midnight is my paranormal stories channel. And then I write and narrate for Missing Persons and Mysteries channel. That's more the national park disappearances, strange things and stuff like that over there. My books are on Amazon. They just came out in paperback. Strange Things in the Woods, which are stories that I've collected over the years from other people. And My Strange World, which is a collection of things that have actually happened to me. Those are encounters that I've had throughout my life.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And what's up for you? You got that great podcast going on as well.
Yeah, I just do what I can where I can. With my books coming out, I've been going on a lot of shows and stuff, and said thanks for having me on. I love to talk. If you couldn't tell, I'm a storyteller, raconteur at heart, even more than I am an author. And that's it's the love to tell these stories. And a lot of the stories that I have were from friends and family that have passed on, and that was one of the things that gave me the impetus to write them out. Was if I don't tell these stories, they die with me, or they die with the people that told them to me. So, love to hear stories. My email, stevestockton8181 at gmail.com. If you've got an interesting story, write me. I'm on Twitter at Strange and Odd. That's my handle on there. And I'm on Facebook, Steve Stockton. I think it's Steve Stockton81 on there also. But love to hear from people who've got stories to share.
You are everywhere, my friend. Everywhere. And I appreciate you taking time out. I know you've been busy lately, but take a time out for our audience here to hang on out. We want to encourage everybody to go on to Amazon. Just look up Steve Stockton. His books are all right there because we want you to get some love there too, my friend. So we appreciate you doing what you did, man. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Again, thanks, everybody tuning in. Dave, thanks for having me on. Anytime you'd like to have me as a guest, I'd be happy to come back. I've had a ball.
We'd love that. We'd love that. We'll make sure we got you scheduled in before the end of the year. How about that?
Sounds great.
All right. Steve Stockton, everybody. Make sure you check him on out. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire. Yeah, it's going to be a good jam-packed news section coming on up. And the thought of the Dave. And it's going to be great. So stick around. Lots more Spaced Out Radio coming up as we start to take this thing home.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey Spaced Out Radio fans, it's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for tuning us in. I want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirks' SOR Newswire. And you can follow us on Twitter if you haven't already, at Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle, at Dave Scott SOR. Speaking of the news, let's get to it, shall we? Here we go. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the downright awesome. Yes. You know, we all need to have a drink sometimes, and for a 103-year-old Massachusetts woman, it was today. So, Jenna Steiner cracked open a cold Bud Light after surviving a bout with the coronavirus. She had been diagnosed with the disease at her nursing home. Her family said she didn't quite understand the concept of the virus, but she grew very ill. Her recovery was far from certain due to her age. The coronavirus is a dangerous one for anyone, but is especially threatening for the elderly population. Nursing homes across the country have been hit hard by outbreaks and have been forced to implement strict visiting policies. And, you know, there was 33 reported cases in Stania's nursing home alone. Stania, though, was a fighter, her family said, but the report pointed out that at one point she was asking if she was ready to go to heaven, and she says, yeah, I'm ready to go. After her recovery, though, the staff at the nursing home surprised her with an ice-cold beer. Her family said the beverage was something that she used to love while rooting for her Red Sox. Oh, hold on a second here. I'm reading a story about a Red Sox fan? Oh, I can't do this anymore. Let's go Yankees! Oh, yeah, I know. I know all of you Blue Jay fans in the GTA there are going to go crazy. All right? All right, but I'm a Yankee fan. What can I say? Good for her, though. Surviving at 103 and cracking a beer to celebrate. Great story, Captain Shirk. I love that one. A mysterious object known as Trojan, the Trojan asteroid, has been discovered in Jupiter's orbit, making it the first known object like it. The object, known as 2019 LD2, has a comet-like tail made up of gas and dust. It was first observed by the University of Hawaii's Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, otherwise known as ATLAS, back in June of 2019. 1 month later, an additional set of observations by ATLAS strengthened the case that this could be a Trojan asteroid. In April 2020, when it appeared, additional routine ATLAS observations confirmed it still looked like a comet, which indicated to researchers it's likely been continuously active for almost a year. We believe for decades that Trojan asteroids should have large amounts of ice beneath their surfaces, but never had any evidence until now. ATLAS has shown that the predictions of the icy nature may be well correct, as says Alan Fitzsimmons, who helped identify the object. Earth has one Trojan asteroid, as Neptune has dozens, according to the release. Jupiter has hundreds of thousands, but it's likely they were captured billions of years ago and are not active like 2019 LD2 is. It's unclear what caused the asteroid to show cometary behavior, but the researchers have a few theories, including one suggesting it collided with another asteroid. Further research is needed to determine what is causing the activity, but researchers are excited by the discovery nonetheless. Even though ATLAS and the system is designed to search for dangerous asteroids, ATLAS sees other rare phenomena in our solar system and beyond while scanning the sky. ATLAS project co-principal investigator Larry Deneau added, "It's a real bonus for ATLAS to make these kinds of discoveries." You know what I don't like about this is they can get those far-off pictures looking beautiful, whether it's through overexposure or whatever it is. Yet when they put a picture of a guy who they're looking for, the police are looking for on the news, it's blurry. Yet we're supposed to recognize him. How can we do that? That's what I want to know. How can we do that? Up here in Canada, the idea of a long-desired 4-day work week has gained more attention as Canadians near the end of month 3 in the coronavirus lockdown. But don't expect 3-day weekends coming just yet, according to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He says, right now we're very much focused on getting through this particular crisis, as we'll have plenty of time to talk about particular creative ideas on moving forward, but I'm not going to speculate on what any of them might be, he said in a response. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern floated the idea of a 4-day work week in a Facebook Live video a week ago. Ardern flagged New Zealand's tourism sector, which employs 15% of the population and contributes about $13.8 billion to the country's gross domestic product, as being one part of the economy that could benefit from people having long weekends. Similarly, in Canadian tourism, it plays an important role to the economy as well, where it's valued at $102 billion a year. Pre-COVID-19, it was the country's fifth largest sector, outpacing telecommunications, mining, and employment of 1.8 million Canadians. I hear lots of people suggesting we should have a 4-day work week. Ultimately, that really sits between employers and employees. But as I've said, there's lots of things we've learned about COVID and just that flexibility of people working from home, the productivity that can be driven out of it, Ardern says. Really encourage people to think about it. If they're an employer and in a position to do so, to think about whether or not that is something that would work for their workplace, because it certainly would help tourism all around the country. The status quo work week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., roughly dates back to the Industrial Revolution and the Ford Motor Assembly line of the early 1900s. In June of 2018, nearly 70% of Canadians say they would prefer working a 10-hour day, 4 days a week, rather than 8 hours a day at 5 days a week. The House of Commons in 2016 contemplated a 4-day work week for MPs to better manage their workloads, though it never came to fruition. Canadian business owners, they're way too greedy for that. Way too greedy. They'll figure out a way to work their employees 12 hours a day instead of 10. A Pakistani villager has urged Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to return his pigeon, currently being held in India on charges of spying. The man, who lives just 2.5 miles or 4 kilometers from the border, says he flew his pigeons to celebrate Eid Festival. Police say the pigeon had a ring on one of its legs inscribed with a code that they are trying to decipher. The Pakistani villager, who claims the arrested pigeon is his, said the code is actually his mobile phone number. Pakistan's Dawn newspaper has identified the man as Habibullah and reports that he owns dozens of pigeons. Habibullah told the paper that his pigeon was a symbol of peace, and India should refrain from victimizing innocent birds. Villagers captured the bird on Monday, along with the international border in Indian-administered Kashmir, and handed it over to police. The Kashmir region is claimed by both India and Pakistan, and is the scene of regular military exchanges between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. This is not the first time a pigeon flying from Pakistan has landed in trouble with Indian officials. In May 2015, a white pigeon was arrested after it was spotted by a 14-year-old boy in a village close to the border. And in October 2016, another pigeon was taken into custody after it was found with a note threatening the Indian Prime Minister. The two nations have been rivals for a long time, with their last full war being in 1971. Can't they just decide it while playing a game of cricket? Isn't that good enough? Another twisted tale from the research team at Checkpoint has been revealed and published, detailing its investigation to expose the real identity of an infamous super hacker responsible for attacks on 5,000 websites, the theft of private data for at least 1 million people, and the sale of stolen credit cards. Despite the thefts, the UG Nazi affiliated hacker pushed an anti-establishment message. Devious yes, clever no. He was caught after making a stupidly simple mistake on Facebook. You'll likely have seen some of the hacker's coverage, perhaps his claims to have stolen private medical records for more than 1 million citizens in New Zealand, or his hacktivist attacks on dozens of government websites in the U.S. and elsewhere. The hacker focused on social injustices and pushed anti-government sentiments, but beneath the surface, there was material financial gain as well. Meet Vanda the God, a self-publicized super hacker who has set himself the target of hacking 5,000 websites and almost got there. His 4,820 scalps were mostly in the U.S. and mostly governmental, but he also attacked private companies and academic institutions with targets in more than 40 countries. The hacker's Twitter account housed a tally of those scalps. It had been quiet since November. We started the entire research process after we received a request from one government to assist with finding his real identity. Checkpoint Lodum's Finkelstein says, the more he expanded his activities, the more we could see him developing new capabilities and showing interest in new hacking fields. He was obviously pleased with his skills he acquired and made sure to boast about his dubious achievements on Twitter, Facebook, and any other platform. There is clearly a hacktivist theme to Vanda the God's activities. He defaced a Brazilian government website with the hashtag Pray for Amazonia as a response to the burnings of the Amazon rainforest, Checkpoint explains, but there is more mercenary elements as well. He uploaded proofs of him holding stolen credit card details, the company says. He did it several times. They shared a screenshot from a Vanda the God post listing stolen credit card numbers. Just like any criminal domain, Finkelstein explains, we see his hackings aggravate from a beginner hacker about 7 years ago. Now he's a threat to many governments and to public safety. In the past year alone, he has hacked into more than 1,000 websites, stealing credit card details, and most seriously, stealing 1 million New Zealanders' medical details. That's kind of interesting. That is kind of interesting. Genuine maple syrup is a treat to the taste buds, but whether you prefer light golden varieties or robust darker syrups, but sometimes batches can have off-putting flavors. Scientists at the University of Montreal in Quebec have developed an artificial tongue using gold nanoparticles that can weed out bad batches early on. It's not so much an electronic device as it is a simple portable chemistry test that detects a color change when an off flavor is present in a sample. Especially here in Canada, we take maple syrup for granted, said co-author Jean-François Masson of the University of Montreal, but it is much more complicated than we had anticipated. It has some of the same complexities as a fine wine and whiskey. Quebec is the largest producer of maple syrup, accounting for more than 70% of the world's supply. He is not referring to cheap knockoffs whose primary ingredients are high fructose corn syrup with imitation maple flavoring. To be considered a true maple syrup, at least in Canada, a product must be made entirely from maple sap collected from maple trees, usually sugar maple, red maple, or black maple varieties. Maple syrup is mostly sugar, water, and a small amount of organic molecules that are responsible for the final product's flavor profile. Those compounds account for just 1% of the content, but it is a crucial 1% determining whether a given syrup is caramelized, smoked, salty, or woody among the 60 or possible categories. The maple trees store starch in their roots and trunks before winter, which converts into sugar. Come late winter or early spring, as the sap rises, it can be collected by drilling holes in the trunks and inserting a spout to funnel the sap into containers. The sap is then boiled down to pure syrup in a sugar shack, typically a shack lowered at the top to let off steam, or louvered, pardon me. It's a cross between Daniel Boone's shack and a sweet factory. After boiling the syrup, filtering to remove a crystalline sugar, voila, you have the perfection. Perfect for pancakes for breakfast. A 1762 vintage bottle of cognac, one of the oldest surviving cognacs in the world, has recently sold on an online auction for $146,000. The Gautier cognac, one of only 3 surviving bottles of the spirit, was sold by Sotheby's auction house. The auction house said the bottle is known for its grand frère, or big brother, as it is the largest of 3 surviving bottles from the collection. The bottle known as Little Brother was sold in New York in 2014, and Little Sister is on display at the Gautier Museum in the Cognac region of France. The former owner of the bottle said they were brought to the family by a man named Alphonse, who was adopted by the former owner's great-grandparents. The family story holds that Alphonse left home to work in the Cognac region and returned with a cart full of bottles a decade later before his death in World War I. The Gautier 1762 is renowned and revered across the world as a cognac that transcends the world of spirits collecting. Johnny Fowle of Sotheby's says this bottle represents not only an example of pre-phylloxera viticulture, but also an early cask maturation from the dawn of Gautier's production and even precedes the French Revolution. Isn't that nice? $146,000 for a bottle that will likely never be opened. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. It's an ugly clown tonight, Marty. Ugly clown. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. If you had a close encounter with Sasquatch, what would you do? Start with Nathan. Be nice. I always wanted to meet one. They seem like nice guys. I hope I have food on me at the time. Better yet, let's share a beer. Marty. I would be as polite and friendly as possible to Sasquatch while quietly soiling myself. Shanna. I would like to think I'd like to try to speak telepathically with Sasquatch while sending out innocently curious and friendly intentions, all the while looking for any lights and signs of UFOs, but mostly I'd like to be just shocked and left open-mouthed. Barther. I had a close encounter with an 8-foot-tall creature near Kokanee Lake, BC. Nice area, by the way, near Creston there. It was a majestic beast that I waved at, and he waved back before running off with his limbs flopping all over the place. He will forever be known as the Coke Squatch. Graham, bribe them with bananas and apples, then run. Benjamin, don't throw rocks. One moment. What the heck does Siri want? I didn't say the word Siri. Oh, she needs to quiet down. Anyways, Marie, squat down and not make eye contact. I saw gorillas in the mist. Anti-social moth. Another encounter? Maybe this time I'll toss a Nanaimo bar its way. Oh, Nanaimo bars. Carl, ask him to take a picture of me to prove I'm real. Oh my gosh, Carl. I think you're real. Or not. Chip, I would try to seduce him back to my condo. You know what they say about big feet. Oh my goodness. Lisa, yield the right of way to Sasquatch. Peter, bring him back to my house, go for a swim, cook some Greek food, drink lots of ouzo. Oppa! Oh, I want to be there for that party, man. Let's see where else we're going here. Allison, first thing I'm going to do, check him for ticks. Paul, lower my head and my hands, do not make eye contact, and back out slowly. And if I wasn't soiling myself, I'd try and snap a pic on the way out. Bob, I hope I know where the wet wipes are. Coral, probably stand totally still, mouth open, and marvel at having my belief in them confirmed. It would be an awesome experience. Cindy, eek! Offer them some coffee. Gary, I would get a good clean picture of it. You couldn't pass your beard, Gary. Olaf, I'd offer him a beer. Serena. Oh, no, she doesn't have one. She's just saying whatever. Sebastian, ask him if he would take the COVID-19 vaccine. Oh, my. Matt? Cable guy Matt? I'm calling you, Dave. Good, because I want to go see it, too. Captain Shirk. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Go away. Get out of here right now. Go away, you big hairy beast. Get. Sounds like her last date. Penman, I've seen 3 of them in 3 different locations. I want to see them again. You're in their territory. And finally, Chris gets the final word. I'd ask for my wallet back. That's your thought of the day today. We'll do it all again tomorrow. So make sure you check out our Facebook and Twitter pages and leave your response as well. Thank you to Steve Stockton for coming on in, being our guest talking Dogman and Bigfoot, and to Captain Shirk for doing all of our news on the SOR Newswire, which can be found on our website. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother Is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Special thanks to everybody in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, our Space Travelers Club, and our website, Revolution Radio, LGAB, Spreaker, Facebook, and all the snarkers and snarkettes hanging out at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter tonight. You were all fantastic. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. We may be docking the Whoo train for the night, but your ticket never expires. Your seat is always available. We leave again tomorrow. Come for the ride. Join the Whoo train. It's always a fun time. See you tomorrow. Good night.